politics is not about taking clean positions or taking moralistic high ground positions or anything. It is about creating moments and opportunities where we can push democratic rights of people forward. So we can all be, very moralistic, very high ground and say we don't want the support of political parties. But if we go forward without the support of political parties, you won't move 2 steps before the police comes and battles us. What I would like to say is, as you said, I'm a Tamil person. And every single political party which has come to power in the South has been extremely racist, without an exception. Even the so-called political parties who are claiming to be left, who are now calling themselves the third alternative, they are one of the most racist political parties. So every single political party which has come to power in the South has been racist. And still, despite that, I am going on November 2nd as part of this struggle.
In your Facebook post, you said reclaim the streets. You suggested that. What is the meaning of that, and what is the purpose of November 2nd March?
So soon after the attack on Golface in August, on the 22nd of August,
July.
22nd of July,
Yeah.
sorry. Since then, whenever we come to the streets, whenever people come to protest on the streets, you see 200, 300, sometimes even 500 police officers to control a crowd of just 200 people. So we can't even walk on the streets. When we take a step forward, police officers come, batons come, we are tear gassed, we are water cannoned, and so on. So in April this year, we created a momentum where the streets was, where Golface, which was supposed to be this prime property, ordinary people who would not otherwise be allowed into this prime property came there.
Surrounded by Port City and
Shangri-La and all these very elite and military complexes. Ordinary people just came there, they sat there, they put tents, and it was a space for Sri Lankan people, all Sri Lankan people, cutting across class, cutting across race, gender. But this changed with the closing of Golface. And I think there is a need, particularly now, with the rising economic inequalities and the rising economic oppression, there is a need to reclaim the streets so that the anger which people have, we have a space to channel the anger so that we can also put political pressure on our leaders to take this country forward in a particular direction. And that space has been closed by Ranil Wickremesinghe, backed by the Rajapaksas. So that is the space which we are trying to reclaim. And we can't claim the space through headed by one political parties, because the magic of the Golface, or the interesting or the unique thing about the Golface protest was that it did not have a single political leadership. It was a spontaneous group of people coming together, as I said, cutting across class and ethnic divisions and gender. Even so many women came and stayed overnight in Golface. So that was the unique thing about the Golface struggle. So we need to create that confidence again for people to come on the streets to be able to show their dissent on what's happening, particularly in terms of the economy. And that is what the November 2nd protest is also trying to do. We are trying to bring in a diverse group of trade unions, civil society organizations, student groups, and political parties to come together to show their dissent against what is happening, the repression, the political repression which is happening, but also showing their dissent against the economic situation, what we are facing right now.
The political party leaders, they were rejected at Golface protest. So why were political parties invited to the November 2nd protest?
All the political parties in parliament, without an exception, have compromised on the dignity of people, the rights of people at various points in history. For instance, if you look at SJB, the history of SJB starts from the UNP. UNP has historically headed race riots. So it's not only UNP, it's every single party in parliament has compromised on some form of rights or dignity of people. But at various points in history, when there is mounting oppression by the party in power, opposition parties have come together and have taken a position against the oppression. Now, is that a politically opportunistic move by the opposition party? Of course, yes, because they are not in power, so they can afford to be very democratic and so on. But what does it mean to people like us? Right now, we are facing, like as I put in that post yesterday, we have military officers patrolling the streets of Colombo. Why do we have military officers patrolling the streets of Colombo? Do we have a war in Colombo? No, we don't. But that is the situation, that is the repression we have on our streets. So we can all be, very moralistic, very high ground and say we don't want the support of political parties. But if we go forward without the support of political parties, you won't move 2 steps before the police comes and battles us. So for whatever reason, for their own maybe political opportunism, political parties are coming forward and saying we will also walk with you in this struggle. So it is for our benefit and it's for our use and for our purpose that we join forces with them and say we want an end to this oppression. Politics is not about taking clean positions or taking moralistic high ground positions or anything. It is about creating moments and opportunities where we can push democratic rights of people forward. A good example of that, which I would say is something, lessons learned during the Galway struggle, is soon after the July 9th uprising, people came in large numbers, in thousands, and said, go home, Gota. And Gota went home. And then Ranil was put in place. And people said, go home, Ranil. So as people in the Galway struggle, we should have caught that moment. We should have caught that political moment and spoken to people about the evils of the executive presidency and really pushed the abolition of the executive presidency. But we left that political moment go. Mm-hmm. So politics is about moments. At this point, we need to fight against the mounting oppression and the repressive regime of the Ranil Rajapaksa regime. And if opposition parties are coming together to support us, we should obtain the support. Are they going to be with us when they come to power? Probably not. So then we have to keep building a democratic force which would prevent presidents like Ranil Wickremesinghe coming to power, people like Rajapaksas coming to power. That is our job, to keep the democratic spaces open. And that is what we are doing now.
Mm-hmm. This is not a political alliance, but this is a united action only, I think.
This is not a political alliance because there are several members of parliament who are coming to the streets on November 2nd, whom I have nothing, politically I have no agreement with. In fact, in another moment, I would not even share the space with them because we are north and south in terms of politics. But as I said, because the large oppression of the Ranil Rajapaksa state, which is an oppression combined together through money, through military power, which is very, very scary, which is something which is even worse than what we saw during the Rajapaksas. So we are facing that. That is the big wave we are facing. So, of course, to fight that wave, I too am going to go to the protest on November 2nd with political actors whom I would otherwise never have anything to do with. And they are also coming to this protest in this particular moment. But what is interesting is that the political actors and the political MPs who are coming to this platform are coming on the terms of the people who originally organized this protest. They're coming on the terms that we need to abolish the PTA. They're coming on the term that the political repression by the Ranil Rajapaksa has to stop. They're coming on the term that people have the right to occupy streets and people have the right to protest. So these are values which we are pushing, we all agree on. So if they are coming on our terms, then I don't see any problem with that. So this is a movement. It's not even a political alliance. It's a movement against repression.
You went to the Supreme Court against rehabilitation bill. The Supreme Court informed Parliament that bill was unconstitutional. Sorry, but the risk is not gone yet. Is it?
So the Supreme Court informed Parliament that the bill is unconstitutional in terms of Article 12(1). But the Supreme Court has suggested certain amendments, and if those amendments come into being, then the Parliament can pass the bill. Now the Supreme Court has done its part. Supreme Court is not a political body. It's a legal structure. It has certain powers and it has exercises powers. But we are people. We have a vision for this country. We can foresee what we want in this country. So the bill as it stands now, even with the amendments which the Supreme Court has proposed, the bill as it stands now still can move towards a direction where this bill can be passed. And in the future, the government can bring in more laws where people like, for instance, people of the Aragalia can be brought into this Bureau of Rehabilitation. So the danger is still there. The danger is still there that ordinary people who are voicing their opinion against the state will be brought into this bureau and can be tortured, can be sent for forced labor, which is not something which has not happened in history before. So as people of this country, the Supreme Court has done its part. Now it is our job to ensure that this bill does not pass in Parliament, because the bill itself was not created in good faith. The bill itself was not created to is rehabilitation. Rehabilitation is a serious concern for several people. If you addicted to drug, you need serious rehabilitation. But that's a medical issue. It's not a military issue. You don't bring the military and ask the military to rehabilitate. So rehabilitation is a serious issue which needs to be looked into. But the government bringing the Bureau of Rehabilitation bill is not for the purpose of rehabilitating anyone. It is for the purpose of detaining large mass groups of people into these concentration camps and denying any form of human decency and rights. So as people, we need to ensure that this bill never sees the light of day and it should be shelved. So that is the pressure we should put on Parliament and our parliamentarians. And it's not only about the government. The government can pass this bill today. They don't care. But if this bill goes through, this will remain as a black dot on our parliament and our legislative history. And we have had black dots in the past also. We don't need another one.
What is the danger to protesters? And because right now it is like it's only to rehabilitate addicted persons. So what is the danger?
I think the amendment which was proposed by the Supreme Court says to drug dependent persons and to any other persons as provided by law. I think that clause also comes in. So because that any other persons as provided by law is also there, what the government can do is that today it will let the Rehabilitation Bureau bill pass with simple majority, because now it's accepting all the amendments which the Supreme Court has given. Then what it will do is it will start passing individual laws saying that this group of people can be put into the Rehabilitation Bureau. This group of people can be put into the Rehabilitation Bureau. And at that point, because we are also people, we also have other things to do, we might not be following every single law which is going to come in. And suddenly just one law might pass through. Parliament can also make a law which as an emergency law. So we won't even have, not an emergency law, an urgent bill. So we might not even have the right to challenge it. So these laws can come in and groups of people can be interned and detained in this Rehabilitation Bureau. But most importantly, even the structure which we have right now, even with the Supreme Court amendment, is very, very dangerous. And this is something which we have never seen before in Sri Lanka. The only other law which is equivalent to this law is the Drug Dependent Persons Act, which was not passed through a democratic process. It was passed as an urgent bill. And so we need to talk about amending that law instead of passing another similar law like this. So in answering your question, the danger of this is Parliament can pass this with simple majority, accepting all the amendments which the Supreme Court gave. And then what it will do is it will start bringing in what is called the enabling legislations, and it will start putting groups of people into this Rehabilitation Bureau. And then what we feared now will be happening in another 3-4 months time maybe.
Right now, Vasantha and Siridhamma Thero has been imprisoned for I think 70 days or more. So how do you feel about that as a lawyer and as a friend of them and as an activist? How do you feel, and what is the oppression right now? Why it is important more than anything other issues in Sri Lanka?
I think it's not only a political issue, but it is also very much a personal issue, because Antare, during the Golf struggle, gave the Golf struggle a political momentum and leadership. And people who are silent now due to their personal reasons, due to fear, whatever, people who are silent now are not even talking about the detention of these two boys, were benefiting from that mobilization, mass mobilization of students. Without the mobilization of students, we will not have had a successful Golf movement. So it is also personal, because they are right now being scapegoated for the victory we had in sending Gota to go home. So the government did not catch any middle class person or privileged person and put them under the PTA. They caught the weakest links amongst us, the weakest links who gave the leadership, who gave the momentum to the struggle, and they have put them, and now they're in 70 days in detention. When you say 70 days in detention, it's not a joke, because we know that they have been kept in dark, isolated cells. We know that Siridhamma Mahamaduru has had dengue, and he was kept in the hospital for a few days, and now he is being taken back to the TID detention. These are dark, isolated detention cells, and they're going through mental torture. You have been torturing two very young people, mentally torturing them for 70 days. And all of this is happening in our name, because many of us are not speaking against it. Many of us, that day, there was a protest in front of TID. How many people attended the protest? Did I attend the protest? So these people are being kept being vindicated, and Mr. Ranil Wickramasinghe and the Rajapaksas are taking their revenge by detaining these boys, and we are allowing it to happen. So, as people who have been part of this Galle-Face struggle, it's not only political but it is also personal, because they have been kept for 70 days in our names. We are not allowing them, we are not pressuring the government enough to bring them out. So that is in terms of the Galle-Face struggle. But in terms of the larger struggle, they have been taken under the PTA. The PTA for 40 years have been used against the Tamils, and then it was used against the Muslims soon after the Easter Sunday. And there were several of us from the minority community who were speaking against the PTA. We were calling the PTA the legal black hole, because once you get detained under the PTA, there is no way out. You can indefinitely remain terrorist forever. And even if you come out of detention, there are several Muslims and several Tamils who to date remain as terrorist suspects, who to date are subjected to surveillance and harassment by the state. And so now this is happening to these two boys. Initially it was 3, now it's 2 boys in the south as well. So I would say the PTA is now showing its face to the south. I would say the only, if at all, the only good thing which came out of the 3 arrests is that now the South understands the PTA. But it's unfortunate that we had to victimize 3 of our most beloved students in order for the South to understand the PTA. So I hope that doesn't have to be. I hope we will raise our voice against the detention of these 3 students, and one is out, detention of these 2 students. And I hope we build a campaign to get them out before the 90 days over.
There's a campaign against November 2nd protest, because some people saying it is a Sajaba protest or SJB. So why should people come there? Why should people reclaim the streets in that day, in that protest? What is the reason, and what is your idea why you are coming? Because you are not only a activist, left activist, you are Tamil in Sri Lanka. Why people should come?
The November 2nd event, the main concern which people have is that certain political parties are going to claim credit to that protest. And people who have been active in the Galle-Face struggle state that the Galle-Face struggle, no political party was able to use it to their credit. So now this November 2nd protest, that's going to happen. So we can't come. What I would like to say is, as you said, I'm a Tamil person. And every single political party which has come to power in the South has been extremely racist, without an exception. Even the so-called political parties who are claiming to be left, who are now calling themselves the third alternative, they are one of the most racist political parties. So every single political party which has come to power in the South has been racist. And still, despite that, I am going on November 2nd as part of this struggle. And the reason for that is race is an issue, gender is an issue, class is an issue. But right now, apart from everything else, the issue we are facing is that we can't speak, we can't talk, we can't walk. The streets is no longer ours. And there is if you don't have a space to dissent, if you don't have a space to raise, for instance, issues of race oppression, if you don't have a space to walk on the streets and say we cannot tolerate the rising cost of living, then that oppression and that suppression is going to erupt into violence. And we have seen that in the past in Sri Lanka. We have seen that in the 80s in the South. We have seen that for 30 years in the North, where when democratic dissent is suppressed, it becomes a violent eruption. And then everyone suffers, everyone struggles. So we need to, Ranil Wickramasinghe does not have to recognize that, because he doesn't care. This is his moment to be a president, so he does not care. Rajapaksas, they want revenge. So they're using this moment to take revenge. But we are people, we love this country. We want democratic spaces to open up so that we can peacefully show our dissent against oppressive policies and oppressive structures. So in order to do that, we need to open up that space again. We need to reclaim the street. We need to be able to walk on the streets. And right now, the only people who can give us that shield and protection is people in political power. So I would say they are coming to this protest on our terms. They are coming against oppression. They are coming against PTA. They are coming against the arrest of the 2 students and so on. So they are coming on our terms. So why not we also go to this protest, go on November 2nd, occupy the street, and send the government a clear message saying that you might have crush the Galle-Face protests for now, but people will come in thousands and occupy these spaces, because these spaces and this country belongs to all people and not only the political and the business elite.